It's Wednesday night, and we're live from Oakdale, Washington, in the Educated Touch studio. Welcome to Ethics Outside the Box, with your host, Nathan Nordstrom. Special guests include
Marco Maddian
and you. Here he is, Nathan Nordstrom.
Well, hello, my friends. It's Wednesday night again, and we are having a wonderful time talking ethics again. We are going through the ethical standards fairly quickly. We're up to number 9. But as soon as we get done with the ethical standards, we're going to be going on to the standards of practice for a massage therapist. So don't expect this to be done in a couple of months. This is actually going for all of 2018. So if you haven't caught previous videos, at the end I'll link that so that you can actually go back and find another one that you're interested in, another topic that you are wanting to discuss. Sorry for the slight gap on my location. I realized I'm gone on every Wednesday, or maybe half of them, to someplace different. But today is Owensboro, Kentucky, and so I'm enjoying the Holiday Inn, and I hope that we get a wonderful time to sit down and really enjoy this conversation with my friend Marco Maddy. And Marco, thank you for joining me today. Marco, what year did you graduate from massage school?
2008, I believe.
2008. So in 2008, 2007 we met.
Yes.
And there were a couple of things that I enjoyed about you just right off the bat when we were in massage school. First one, you had no problem looking anyone in the face, your instructor or anyone else, and really asking solid questions that I did not know the answer for. I appreciate that. It makes me think, makes me wonder, makes me have to look. And so I appreciated that. But the second thing that we've talked about several times in the past, and that's about communication and about presentations and talking, and that you have a unique background for a massage therapist. What are some of the backgrounds that you come from? Some of the things that you've done in your rich history prior to massage?
My previous careers. 18 years or so in the entertainment industry, being a dancer, singer, actor, triple threat, whatever you want to call me. Sorry, putting dog down 1 second.
Dog's happy. That's good.
Yeah, no, he got some love. He's good. So that was a big chunk of my early years, and then from there, goodness gracious, just industries wise, financial services industry, golf industry, biotech, medical industry, and funny enough, between every industry and during my many years, coming back to massage as a possibility option. Literally looked at schools back in 1986 when East West College used to be in downtown Portland, before I graduated high school. So, it just took me 26 years, 30 years, whatever, to come back around to it. So
just to figure out what you really want to do with your life.
Yeah. I'll follow the other dreams, then come back to the dream that I'm supposed to follow.
I find it interesting. I was just at the AMTA School Summit, and they passed out their industry fact sheet. And there's one statistic that I always like to draw back to, and it's the percentage of massage therapists that are coming into the field from another profession.
Right.
And that's a huge percentage. It's usually only 21% are actually wanting to go to become a massage therapist as their first career.
Right.
And so that's one of those things that really just kind of blows my mind to say, you know what, we are a second career. We are the fun career once people realize they don't like this other junk. Yeah. They want to do something that they're passionate about and have a real intense desire to do. And
or have that treatment that makes them go, oh my God, people can make a difference for other people. Whoa.
And my cubicle life isn't doing that. Darn it. Yeah, and so I'm really grateful to have this profession that we do and kind of the connection there. So thank you for the introduction, for allowing us to kind of connect this way. I want to start by having us really once again look at the NCB Code of Ethics and remind people how to find this. So the first thing you do is go to www.ncbtmb.org. Scroll all the way to the bottom of any page, and you'll find the About section on the left-hand side. As you scroll down, you'll see the Code of Ethics and the Standard of Practice. So we are on Code of Ethics page. And as you go down today, we're actually going to be talking about number 9. For anyone who doesn't know Roman numerals, that's IX. Marco, would you be willing to read this one to us?
Be happy to. I got to just get down here where I can see it a little better. Yeah, we're not going to talk about age and eyes.
Nope.
Safeguard the confidentiality of the client's identity and information in all conversations, advertisements, and any and all other matters unless disclosure of identifiable information is requested by the client in writing, is medically necessary, or is required by law.
It's an interesting piece there. What stands out to you?
The one thing that I think is most important to look at here in this one, and I think it's the one that everybody glazes over, is that unless it's identified, requested by the client in writing, or you requested it and gotten written permission by the client in writing.
That is huge. So I've got a story. I'm always notorious for stories in these types of things. I had another massage therapist that I met at a convention in the past. And one of the things that massage therapist was so proud of was her massage table.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of go, okay, well, what's special about your massage table? It looks like everyone else's massage table. The problem with that is that she said, oh no, look. And she turned the table over, and she had all these signatures of all these musicians and rock stars and athletes and all these people who had signed the bottom of her table. And she says, this is what I use for my disclosure if I can use their names. And I said, because they signed the bottom of your table, they've given you the right to say that you've worked on them? I don't know exactly about that. Yeah, I was going to say, did you print something out and paste it to it and say, hey, could you read this before you sign? That would make me feel a lot more comfortable. That would make me go, okay, there's a connection.
Yeah.
But she was really proud of her table, and I totally understand. I get that. There's this thing that that most of us, especially in America, do. It's this glorifying of these athletes and these musicians that we say, oh, they're really great, and so we want to really connect and feel like we understand and we have had experiences with these people.
Yeah.
However, that then gives us that one challenge to say, wait a second, do we actually have that? Right. And if we are working on a client, this is I think my biggest point that we'll go back to again and again and again this hour. If we are truly, as massage therapists, practicing for the client's best interest, then if we are having them sign something so we can use their name, or we're spreading out that this person I worked on this person or that person, are we really operating in that client's best interest?
Right. Right. Is somebody simply signing your table giving you a real testimonial?
Yeah. And
it's name dropping versus necessarily, I mean, like, yeah, wonderful, you've worked on these people, but.
Now, I like going the other direction too, because there's this wonderful website called Yelp.
Yelp. Mm-hmm.
And you can say, hey, would you give me a review on Yelp or on any one of these websites, Google or any of that, and you can give them the free choice to go in and put their statements about your skill, about who you are, about what you do, and that will give you an expected understanding, and it'll give the potential client an understanding of who you are and what you are. There's a lot more implied there because they're actively pursuing it. I wouldn't say there's a signature, but I would say that is active release of testimony. So if you on your website are then putting a link to Yelp reviews or to any of that, free and clear. I mean,
Yep.
there's no real concern with that. Now, let's play a little devil's advocate here. What would be the benefit? Yeah! We love devils.
We're speaking my language now.
So let's go into the mind of a massage therapist who's just worked on fill in the blank client, and they're justifying telling people that they've worked on this person. What are some of the good things about that? What are some of the benefits to the society, to the culture, to the community?
The benefits of somebody actually having worked on somebody?
Using their name.
Using their name. Well, I mean, it's a slippery slope. And even using the name of somebody not in a big society, even just in a small group, without consent is without consent. And it's like doing any kind of treatment without consent is still doing treatment without consent. Full disclosure, how many ways can we go about discussing this? Absolutely. If you get somebody on the table who's in a certain industry and you're trying to get that industry to understand that, hey, this industry, this is a good thing. See, so-and-so's doing it. Awesome. But has so-and-so given that approval?
So I love large community, small community. Having lived in Portland and smaller, I go all the way down to a town of 420 now. And yeah, that's small town.
Everybody
business.
knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. And to me, it's interesting that no matter what the size of the town or city is, name recognition is there. For example, a massage. Going to those personal examples, I always have to put a little bit of barrier on, because people who may be watching may be from that community. So I have to be more generalized. Had a client who got in a car accident. It was really atrocious. It was a really bad accident. Spent many months in the hospital, and was doing the recovery thing in the hospital, as I canceled all of her appointments so she could recover. It was really interesting to me to then go from this aspect of hearing about a car accident of this person and then calling up the family and saying, hey, just wanted to make sure, let her know we've canceled all the appointments in the future. When she's able, we can get back to her. Let's fast forward another month after the accident, and I'm at church. And I'm sitting at church enjoying a good service, and this is a testimonial type Sunday where anybody's getting up and talking. And so a person gets up and he starts talking about this horrible car accident that he was in and that he hit this lady. And at that moment, I started biting my tongue, because I realized A plus B equals C. And I couldn't do anything other than stew to myself, because I knew more about that accident and more about the situation.
Right.
This is an example where you could say you work with people who are in extreme conditions, who have traumas, who have injuries, who are recovering from bad things. But as soon as you say, hey, you know that accident a couple of months ago? Yeah, I work on that person. That's too much.
Yep.
Because you're no longer working for the betterment of that person.
Right.
I always have to go on this other side, which is not only let's talk about the aspect of giving permission and all of that, but also that aspect of a session begins and ends. And once you're out of the room, once you've completed that clinical note, that documentation, yes, you do think about that client. You kind of go, I wonder what Tom's doing. I wonder where he's at. I wonder what's going on with Marco. I wonder if he's still shooting, using swords and beating people up.
Rattan sticks.
Yeah, okay, well, either way.
Both words.
And you think about those people, but as soon as you start addressing and acting upon it or communicating in other forums, that's actually even kind of where this is starting to go into. Because guess what? I mean, married, my wife, once again, town of 420 people. She knows all 420. She's the town librarian. She knows every single one of those people.
Yep.
I actually travel around the country and then come home, and when I'm working on people, then I'm like, okay, let's keep this on the down low.
Yeah.
So it's those types of things that really become that nitty-gritty aspect.
Yep.
However, there's passive sides of this. I can run this for an hour. I can just run circles and circles and circles. Speaking at a conference at a national convention, we had a argument go on that I loved, and it's one of my favorite arguments. There's a couple of really good ones, but this is one of my favorites, and that is, yeah. So if you are in your home community and you're working on a client, and that client then invites you to come to their child's birthday party, do you go?
No.
No, why?
For me, on the whole, especially more personal, closed group community things, business is business and personal is personal. And anybody that I'm treating, I don't have that personal relationship with, per se. That being said, I've also had clients who are in a particular performance type community who have invited me to their performances. But it's been a difference of I'm going to a performance where I'm just somebody sitting in an audience. I don't usually engage them before or afterwards. But in supporting their lives, their livelihood, if I'm walking out and they happen to come and snag me and say, I wanted to introduce you to so-and-so because I think that they need to see you, that's again their choice to pull me in that way, but I'm remaining anonymous. But I think especially when you start getting onto that more personal level, it starts becoming a little too, who are you going to meet at that birthday party? What happens if it's other clients? Or you have your situation where you're like, hey, you hit you, and having to bite the tongue or exit because too much information is coming out.
So I love the answer. Now let me give you a little bit more about that class at that convention. So the second half, this argument really heated up because half of the people said, of course I would go to their child's birthday party. And the other half were like, there is no way in heavenly days I would go to that child's birthday party.
Yeah.
And so my co-instructor and I said, okay, hold on. Let's see the hands of the people who would not go. And so they raised their hands. And I said, does everyone with their hand up operate in a large city? And they all went, uh-huh. And I said, okay. Those with their hands down, do you all work in a smaller community? And they all went, uh-huh. And I went, there's a dynamic that you have to be looking at in dual relationships. And that's another concept here, is that when you're in a small enough town, your client's child is also your child's friend.
Absolutely, potentially, but then it becomes am I being invited as a peer versus am I being invited as a professional client relationship?
And so the discussions came out, and we started having people discuss and kind of explain some of the goods and the bads that happened. And one of the stories that went along in this one was it was a person who did go to their client's son's birthday party. And when she got there, she was talking to several people. Oh, I'm friends of the hostess. And when she was introduced, the hostess, her client, said, "Oh, and that's my massage therapist. She's the most amazing ever. Everyone should go to her." And she said, I had never felt so awkward.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think the business, I didn't think going to this opportunity to gather was a business opportunity for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said she got clients from it. She had friends who were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, oh, I'd love to come see you. Yeah, you've done amazing things for her. She's feeling so much better." But that's where communication comes in, right?
But the question is, how many of those people walked up to that person and said, "Hey, I've got this spot," and spent the next 3 hours going, "You know, if you want to talk about that spot, why don't you come and see me? I'm here to enjoy and have a drink as well, as opposed to spend the next 3 hours being a consultant."
And that's why I tell people to always bring their business card everywhere.
Yeah.
Because you never know when those types of scenarios are going to happen. I was at the grocery store a couple of weeks ago, and a client said, "Nathan, how are you? Oh, hold on. And so she went around the corner and got her friend and said, "Oh, come on over here. Oh, this is the guy I was telling you about. Yeah, he helped me with my neck." And I started laughing. I was like, I would love to give you a business card. However, I'm in my jeans and a t-shirt and I've got my son and daughter with me. I really don't have that possibility right now. And so I said, "But you have the number, you can give it to this person." And so those are those pieces where you kind of say, okay, do you make judgment calls on it? You know, those are the hard situations.
Yeah.
When we're talking about putting a name out there as a reference or a resource for you, they're talking specifically in this one about having documentation that states this is the person and this is why. Have you ever had an experience, Marco, where one of your colleagues has said, "Hey, I've worked on this person before"?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
and what do you think it is? And we're going to try and get into a little bit of psychology without getting into psychology. What is it that that person is trying to do by saying that?
Yeah. Wow. I think the therapists themselves, when they're going into that space, one, they're not the type of therapist. I think I run across it a little bit more with the therapists who are a little more touchy-feely, a little more, you know, I hug everybody. Yeah, I'm a hugger. They hug everybody. So that's where I've run into it more often. And sometimes, to me, it sounds sort of like a bit of a name drop, a bit of a, I've gotten into this community and you know that this person's in this community, therefore and it's sort of a, you know, I'm getting my way in. Not that they're trying to brag or show off, but there's certainly a bit of a, you know, check out what I'm doing. Yeah.
So and I find it funny that that's the group that you see it in. I see it in, and I'm going to pull people out, I'm sorry, in the sports massage arena.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I have
a lot of the athletes, a lot of the people who work on athletes are like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in the running. I'm a sports massage therapist, and I work on these runners."
Yeah.
And, "Oh, yeah, I've worked on the Oregon State team, and I've worked on this group, and I've worked on that team, and, oh, I'm connected with this hockey team or that." Right. And it's like, wait a second. And in some cases, like if you have a contract with a sporting team, then that contract generally states you can or cannot say that you work with this team.
Right.
Generally, if you have a contract that says you can.
Yeah.
But
they're giving you a resume.
Exactly. But you're not saying, "Oh, yeah, I've worked on Tim, and I've worked on Joe, and I've worked on Bob, and I've worked on." You're saying this is the team that I work with.
Yeah.
Oregon is very well known for its running community. And so being able to go down to Oregon State and work at the indoor and outdoor running competitions is something that I see a huge number of running or a huge number of sports massage therapists really connect with.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I'm going to call a little bit of problem, because Facebook is a glorious tool and a glorious problem at times.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of people on Facebook say, hey, can I get a selfie with you? And snap a picture of someone who is near them next to their massage chair or massage table. And there's an illusion there, or people are alluding to this is what's going on. I have worked on this person, but we don't know.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a conscious choice. Usually I think it's not a conscious choice for the massage therapist to say, hey, this is who I'm working on. But there's an alluding there.
Absolutely.
I have a problem with, I call them ussies because I'm getting old, but selfies with another person where you're trying to, really trying to get that picture with someone who's famous. If it's a bunch of friends, whatever. I have several pictures with boards that I've been on with someone sprouting out of my shoulder and all these other pictures and views. But the concept where you're saying, hey, you know what, here's my Facebook page, here's who I'm working with, here's who I'm working on. That's another challenge that can be there. So I wanted to quickly go back to number 9 here. So I love how it starts with safeguard.
Yep.
The confidentiality.
Yep.
So when we're talking about safeguarding, is that just, I think there's a amount of care that's taken there, and it's a conscious action to make sure that information isn't shared.
Yeah.
This isn't I worked on this guy who goes by the initials MJ and shoots hoops really well. Yes, that could be any number of people.
Yes.
But it has an illusion where you are not safeguarding that identity, if that's the person you're working on.
Yep.
So confidentiality and identity. Is there a difference there in your mind, Marco?
Is there a difference there? No, not at all. I mean, whether it's their personal information or whether it's their identity, I mean, privacy is privacy.
So identity usually goes by the person, and confidentiality is the information about that person.
Exactly.
So if they were in a car accident, yes, you have that person, but you also have that injury, that concept, and that confidential information that is there. So I've also had many people say, oh, but it's just my wife, my kids, my significant other. They're not in the community, so they don't really matter. I don't have to safeguard against them because I've got this verbal or written contract that says, oh, we're together, we're a spouse, we're married, we're to be connected forever. But that's not what this says.
Yeah.
Right? This is all conversations. So when you get home and you start ranting, and you're like, oh my gosh, I had 6 clients today, and my 6 clients, man, my first client had this problem, the second client had that problem, the third client had this, and then they say, oh, well, did you see Susie again? Oh yeah, she was my 3rd client. You found yourself in that world of hurts again because you opened up that possibility of sharing information that's really focused to that person. So how do we make sure to safeguard ourselves? Now, are we not supposed to rant?
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody rants a little.
Okay. I absolutely agree. There are times when you're like, ah! But how do you safely rant?
Right.
What do you do, Marco? Anything specific for you?
It's interesting, and this is probably the one that I have the hardest time with personally. And this is one that I've been doing my best to check myself on.
Nice.
It is a difficult one, especially my fiance now is also in an industry where HIPAA is extremely important, and knowing information is, and so she's checked me on it, and we've checked each other on it.
Awesome.
She's met some of my clients in passing because I treat her regularly as well. So it's like, okay, but it's interesting. I think when it comes to ranting, it's how do you process? And so I think things, especially if you need to rant about a client or process something about a client, is I have actually tried to find the other therapists who treat that client in order to try to discuss specifically, especially when processing. I have a number of clients, and I'm like, okay, wait, who's this client's chiropractor? Right, I can go check in with that client's chiropractor, whether it's a rant or a thing, and be like, hey,
Awesome.
Where can we discuss this? Because then it is within a safe community, because it is somebody who's also a practitioner who's treating, who understands the borders of what can and cannot be said.
Awesome. I love that. That is definitely a great tool, because you get to have someone who is also under that HIPAA for that patient.
Right.
Now, there's also a skill that I've worked on over the years, and that's whitewashing information.
Yeah.
And avoiding names and information that would identify that person.
Way, exactly.
And I think, oh gosh, let's see, 2003, so 15 years ago, I had a massage therapist who I really considered my mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm tossing something out. Gleneth Moyle, you are amazing, and she's been my mentor ever since. And everyone said, I actually talked to her just before this meeting, and that ability to have a person to connect with, to really kind of divest and ask questions and wash information and get another therapist's understanding and expectation. That real peer mentoring has such a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that you and your fiance have that together, because you guys both understand HIPAA. You both understand that there's that thing that you both have to be conscious of. And you both are, no matter how much you try not to be, you're in the same community.
Yeah.
Even if you're working in different fields, they bump up to each other. And so that's really nice to have. Now, I know the AMTA has for years had a peer mentoring program where if you're new in the field and you don't feel like you understand something or you need help, you can call up AMTA and say, hey, I'm looking for a peer in my area, or I'm looking for a peer not in my area, someone outside, someone who does this or focuses with that. They give that possibility. And that's a huge benefit in my mind, to really kind of connect with those things so that you can have a separated individual and a separated community, so that you can really connect with and understand specific aspects about what's going on. So mentoring has been priceless for me, because it really is, and I don't care how many times I've heard it, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And being able to use a good mentor to get you a step up or even several years ahead in your practice, and not having to make those errors and not having to do the things, the stupid stuff that new massage therapists do, is great. I know most massage graduates first start by saying, teacher, could you be my peer? Could you be my mentor? Would you tell me what to do? And Marco's scared.
Sorry, no, my computer's telling me it's going to shut down. 1 second.
All right. You take care of that and make sure that's good.
We're good. Okay, we're good. I turned that off.
Is it plugged in?
Time shut down.
Is it plugged in?
Yeah, no, it wants to do a restart set for that, technology, whatever.
Remind me in 5 hours. Awesome. Yeah. So your teachers as peer mentors are, first of all, they're open-hearted. Massage therapy teachers, really any teacher is not paid enough. They're not. They're underappreciated.
Yeah.
However, putting more on their plate sometimes can tax them. So feasibly, if you go to any of the conferences that are out there, any of the groups that are there, you're going to have this opportunity to take a class with a bunch of people. A lot of times, if you find someone that you meet and connect with, that's going to be a really great resource. Any continuing education class that you are passionate about is going to be a great source to find peers to connect with.
And this is a classic example. You've been one of my mentors since day one. And even though you live so dang far away now and I don't get to connect with you anywhere near as often as I like to, but, talk about classic go-to.
I love my standard friends like you who give me a call and they're like, okay, I just have a question. I'm like, shoot, go for it. And so then I hear this question about a different concept, a different idea, and I can then go back and say, okay, well, why did you go about that? How did you do that? I don't have to think about it. I just have to make you think about it.
Yeah.
And I've used this with my clients regularly as well. Yeah. When they come in and they're like, man, I got this back pain and it's just killing me. I don't have to know the answer, but I need to draw the information out of them so that they can figure out the answer.
Yep.
Because it's so much more enlightening for a person to go, oh, look, my posture, it is screwed up. Oh, I guess if I sat up straight, I'm sitting up straight because I was getting a little sore. But you get that connection. You realize those things that really need to fit into your brain when someone picks back at you instead of dropping the answer to you.
Yep.
I have teenagers now.
Yeah. Fun.
Okay. Yeah, and this is one of those pieces where I'm still learning it. I literally I don't know a parent of a teenager who goes, I've got this all figured out. I think we all recognize there's bizarreness here, and
once you figure the first one out, don't think that applies to the second
one. Yeah, no. There are no two teenagers that are the same. And then you will get that one teenager that you'll go,
what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Why are you so good? How come? Yeah.
What are you hiding from me?
Exactly. You have to be lying. You're not lying. Why? And so being able to connect with your professional peers, and connect with your clients, because I've heard so many times massage therapists are in such a close proximity and closed off from the rest of the profession. They are just locked into this environment where they're only seeing their clients. And a lot of times, if that's the case, you're mentally following through again and again and again on what's going on with this client, what's going on with that client, instead of being able to get out and get away from it. So those two tools, find a peer mentor, someone who you can connect with the profession without really divulging, really pushing too much information, but really connecting with how to get better. And then the second side is have a hobby. Have something that you're passionate about other than your practice. I know we're massage therapists and we love our work. I know we do. We all know we do. We think we have the best job in the world. And that's great. But if you can't pull yourself away from it, it will become taxing and it will become work and something irritating and frustrating. And so I know massage therapists who have all sorts of hobbies, and I actually really prefer talking to a massage therapist. My new job here connects me with massage therapists across the country in different ways. but being able to first come to a massage therapist and say, how are you doing? What is it that you like to do other than massage? What do you mean? When you're not at work, what do you do for play? And they're like, I've got kids. Perfect. Wonderful. How old are they? And draw their minds away from the practice to then engage this concept of you are a moral, ethical person in home and in work. You're going to have to be able to be consistent in your conversation. You're going to have to be consistent in who you are, because you can't just push it down and say, well, I'll let this name slide, but I won't let this name slide. Because you create a pattern, you create a consistency, you create an action. And so, yeah, those two pieces are really important, because when you want to be away from work, having something you're passionate about, even if it's travel or even if it's knitting, whatever it is, have that be your passion. And it can be your other passion other than work. I'm not saying you can't be passionate about your job, but if you can't get out of your job in here, it's going to leak out all over every other place. And if anybody has a dog, we don't want dogs leaking all over the place in the house. You got to be conscious about that. So, all right. So, all conversations, advertisements, and any and all other matters unless disclosed. Let's actually start there. So, any or all matters. So, gosh, can we think of any other ideas of where you shouldn't be sharing other than advertising and conversations?
Good Lord.
That's a hard one for me.
Yeah.
I'm tossing it at you because I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm Facebook, social media, which is, it's another form of conversation, but, but I mean, even going on with that innocent post of, wow, I saw this great, so-and-so, and you give out just enough information for people to be like, oh yeah, that's X. Even if it was a great comment about a great session during the day and you're trying to be general, but if you give too much information, it's social media and a conversation that's going uber public. It's not even a small room.
Nope. And I've seen people go the other direction, trying to be quirky, canny, funny, and say, oh, well, I just worked on a magician who once made a large copper item disappear. And so people draw to a conclusion of who that might be, and then it's not that person, it's someone who made a statue of a hand disappear.
Right.
And no one knows it, but they're building up, or they're trying to be funny and facetious and go, oh yeah, no, I've never been to New York or Las Vegas or wherever or any major magicians are, but yeah, no, this guy was really good.
Yeah.
I understand that you're going for sense of humor, but it creates a wrong perspective of communication for what you're really trying to put out there. So, all right. So, unless disclosure of identifiable information is requested by the client in writing. Okay. So, how can that be done?
That's kind of a funny, kind of an odd statement, just the way it's written. You would think that the request for the disclosure would be by the therapist to the client for said information to be shared. So I mean, honestly, when I read it the first time, I was like, "Is this a typo?"
Yeah.
Is this? But I mean, you should have, just like any non-disclosure statement or anything, a written statement of, information X allowed to be released by, and a signature, a date, we're allowed, this is going to go to social media and or print or whatever, or just a wide open. Do I have permission? But it's got to be a written consent by that client.
So I love the initial concept of advertising, because it's stated there, but there's a whole different side to this.
Yeah.
And that is a great example. When I owned my spa in Portland, Oregon, I received a fax. This was back in the day of fax machines, from a lawyer with a written documentation for disclosure of information regarding their massages and the clinical documentation from their sessions. And it was signed by the patient. And legally, it had to be signed by the patient.
Right.
And I was so excited. I was brand new. Just owned the spa. I was, okay, we've got this, move over here. We're going to get this and grab this and look through the little file. And actually, so back in the day, we actually had it in a filing cabinet. And these drawers were the 3x5 card drawers. So it kind of looked like the old library drawers where you had like several, and they were all alphabetical and they were all figured out. And so I went through and flipped to theirs and pulled the card out and turned it around and looked at the card. And on the front, it said their name and their conditions and what was going on. And on the back, it had date and maybe a line or a sentence about the client. Standard progress notes instead of clinical chart notes.
Right.
But we were in a spa,
yeah.
And there's that whole argument there depending on what state you're in. Mm-hmm. Looking at one of those, which was the last one right before this person, so the date that they were requesting information for, it said, "He's cute and tips well." Not quite the information that the lawyer was going for. And so I held the card and looked at the signature and figured out which massage therapist did that progress note, and talked to the massage therapist individually and expressed that that's not going to be very helpful for what you're trying to look for here. And then I had to call the lawyer and say, hey, if I may ask, what is this regarding? Is it just documentation, or are you looking for an actual reason? The person had actually been in a car accident. And the last professional to have seen them in a healthy state was the massage therapist. And so they wanted some documentation that was going to say, this person had full range of motion of their shoulders, this person was amply able in all their activities, there was no restriction in range of motion, they were cognitive, they didn't have headaches, they didn't, anything of that nature would have gone a huge distance towards their case to say, 2 days before this accident, they went to the massage therapist and this is what was said.
Yeah.
And I had to apologize because I said we don't have clinical chart notes that meet that need. It's painful.
However, if you do really well with this case, he might tip you well.
And he's cute, so I mean, you never know. Yeah. So I mean, all of that really kind of drew this concept really to a head in my mind on both sides of disclosure.
Yeah.
So asking for disclosure if you want to use their name for advertisements. And generally that does go by a review. Hey, would you fill out this review and sign at the bottom saying that I can use this review on my website? Or even if you want model like headshots and that kind of stuff, you have to get the signature for your protection so that you make sure that the documentation is right.
Yep.
On the other side, there's a reason that they need that documentation.
Documentation requested from us with the signature, yes.
And so that really goes into is medically necessary or is it required by law?
Right.
That's the end there. And the medical necessary and required by law, I think we all kind of, we know it happens, but not very many massage therapists write their chart notes as if they're going to be subpoenaed.
Right.
It's a necessary evil that they have to deal with this, and they got to spend this much time taking care of all paperwork. Ugh. When what really needs to happen is you got to say, okay, where did we start? Where did we end? And what was the thing that really I need to know for next time when this client comes in, that I can prepare so that they are ready and able to exceed the state that they were currently at.
Yeah.
That's what a progress note's for.
Yeah.
It's for you personally to address it and kind of connect with.
Yeah.
And so I know we've gone all over the place tonight. But really, when we're talking about safeguarding their identity and their information, you've got to go all over the place.
Yeah.
Because it's not just making sure not to share names or say who you're working on or who you work with.
Filing cabinet every day.
The HIPAA guidelines of the double locks, which is the door.
Yeah.
Yep. And that is that safeguard. I mean, I was talking to someone who was talking about the posterior knee, the popliteal region, or the popliteal fossa, popliteal triangle, this area of endangerment. And they were talking about working on the calf. And the question was, well, when does the calf end and the popliteal fossa begin? How far can I go to get in and not get into the popliteal area of endangerment? And I said, I think you're asking the wrong question. I think the question should be, how far can I stay away from the area of endangerment and still actively treat the muscle?
Yeah.
It's not about getting to that exact boundary or border.
Yeah.
It's about making sure that the border is safe from the area of pain or problem.
Yep.
Those are the things that I can see really engaging and really opening up the possibilities of better treatment of clients. Yeah. If you're doing the same thing here, if you're talking about, okay, well, yeah, I have two locks on it. One is a twist tie from a bag that I put on the cupboard, and the other one, my front door, well, it's really wiggly and jams, but it's locked. No, yes, no, yes, no. I mean, you're not really actively trying to safeguard. I've also seen a lot of massage therapists who minimize their safeguarding procedures, and they're like, okay, what's the cheapest lock I can get? What's the cheapest? And I get that. I understand a lot of money is not what most massage therapists fall into when they start the profession. But when you look at how long you want to have that, what you want to do with it, and why, even if you start with a cheap lock and go to a more sufficient lock, it's understandable. But trying to do the best that you can for the client to make sure their information is safe. And that you're using the right terminology and the right communication. So, all right, Marco, anything else you want to add for tonight's fun and adventure?
I don't think so. I think you covered it adequately, especially for one sentence.
Yeah. Oh no, I can dig into 3 words and translate them into a couple of different languages and see what they actually mean in Latin. No, this is the fun where we start saying, what is it that you really want to do? I mean, are you trying to be safe? And if you are trying to be safe, look at who you're advertising to and what you're advertising. And if you have been doing it wrong in the past, that's okay. You can start right now. You can go collect signatures. You can take those disclosures down that weren't officially approved. Fix it.
Yep. Because
it's up to today. And I have it on good word from several lawyers I've worked with in the past, that if you've done something stupid and you're actively correcting it, the law is going to look at you and say, you're striving, you're improving, the slap on the hand is going to be so much less because you've already instigated the change and the improvement in life before the legal consequences come down. It's when the legal consequences come down and you're like, no, it's just going to change that. Well, too late. Now you have to suffer those consequences. So start correcting, start enjoying your safeguarding behaviors that you're going to start creating. Marco, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate your time, and I will be looking as we go ahead to see where else you can come join me on a Wednesday night.
It was nice to meet you.
Marco.
Thank you, Nathan. The hour has flown by. We hope you've enjoyed this discussion with Ethics Outside the Box. As you've seen, Nathan uses many second-hand stories of ethical situations. If you'd like to share your story or you have any questions, feel free to contact him and Nathan at educatedtouch.com. If you'd like to register for next week's live webinar, go to shop.educatedtouch.com. Under live webinars, you will see all upcoming webinars. If you have just watched this video and would like continuing education for home study, you can go to shop.educatedtouch.com under the home study options with the date or episode number to receive your exam. If you would please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, we will keep you up to date on new videos. If you'd like to attend one of our live courses, you can find upcoming scheduled events at www.educatedtouch.com. Thank you for joining us today. Be well and have an ethical day.